There are 589 bulbs. It's going to be on display here in Times Square.
What's going on, guys? Kevin Cage here with another crypto update. I hope everybody had a Merry Christmas, and we're going to dive into a bunch today. So we're going to make sure that we run through this recent post or tweet by BearableGuy123 that he made on Christmas Eve. So we'll go through this image today. I'll speculate, of course, not financial advice. But before this, his last tweet was back in August, so really cool to see that he did put something out for this year. We also have a lot of funny coincidences, if they are coincidences, shared by Not Financial Advice, and then even Anders, looking at 589 bulbs exactly for the New Year's Eve celebration for this year. But anyways, we have a lot to cover today, so I hope you guys enjoy, and hit that like button and let's dive right in. Alright, so first up, be sure to stay safe out there, because scams are only going to be increasing no matter what, especially with AI. So we're going to go over what happened recently shared by Cointelegraph. So this is dated for today. So a user lost 450,000 TBTC, so nearly $500,000. And what they did was they sent funds to a lookalike address, which is essentially an address poisoning scam. So how does all of this work? Because I'm sure you guys have heard of dusting attacks before. So basically, an attacker or a hacker, they send a tiny transaction of dust, fractions of crypto, to your wallet. And that scam basically is crafted to look very similar to a real address that you've previously sent to. So they're trying to use a lookalike address and send it to you, so when you look at your transaction history, you think it's the same address, and then you send your funds to that one. So usually these attackers are going to try to find an address that maybe starts with similar characters or even ends with similar characters. Because as we can see right here, a lot of addresses will typically show the starting characters of an address and then maybe even the last few characters. So this is a really basic scam, but it works. It only has to work once, and they can do this to thousands and thousands of people. So I just want to emphasize that this is user error. You know, one night when you worked all day and you're tired and it just takes one mistake. So this had nothing to do with a wallet being exploited or you losing your private keys. It's just a user error of sending or copying an address that's in your transaction history that you thought was the right one. So the most obvious and best safety tips I can give everybody in the crypto space is make sure that you always send a small test transaction first. Make sure it gets there. I know it's annoying, but it's always worth it. And no matter how confident you are, never copy addresses from your transaction history, and some best practices would be using an address book and saving the actual contacts if your wallet allows it, but just always verify the full address, character for character. So I hope that makes sense, and if it helps or protects one person, it's worth it. I know a lot of people already know this, but you never know. And just like an investor may diversify between asset classes, they're not holding just crypto or they're not holding just commodities. They're holding a mixture of money market accounts, equities, crypto, etc. It's also incredibly important not to just hold all of your funds in a single wallet. And there are plenty of options out there for everyday people linked in the top of the YouTube video description right in my link tree. And I know it's annoying, but I have multiple. You can have institutional custody with a provider, you can hold cold storage and Ledger, Tangem, Decent, you name it, and then you can also use a recovery plate that is fireproof, so that your private keys are never lost. Just like for investments, there's no single right way for anybody. It's usually a mixture and you find what works for you. And I don't guarantee anything is the best solution. I think just diversifying is the way. I don't always trust cloud security. I don't always trust holding on to an encrypted USB drive. The best way is to diversify. So you can find all of those links right in the top of the YouTube video description and in the pinned comment right in my link tree. Alright, next up, let's kick off and show this video shared by notfinancialadvice.crypto.
There are 589 bulbs. It's going to be on display here in Times Square.
For a total of 589. Still the brightest thing in the sky at midnight.
The numbers are 7 feet tall and 3 are 589, and there are 589 bulbs. Among them, 145 in each of the twos.
That's actually funny. This guy makes it crystal clear he likes 589. I think he's just really cold, but just listen to this again.
There are 589 bulbs. It's going to be on display here in Times Square.
So I think that's really interesting. This is either one giant coincidence or it means something more. And we have seen Ripple and XRP all over Times Square before with signs. So it definitely makes you wonder, was it just a coincidence based on engineering constraints of using exactly 589 bulbs and that's why they're pointing it out, or is it a hint? And we do know that 589 is that COMEX or CME rule. I think it stands for like trade cancellation. We also have Anders at X_Anderson saying this. 589 bulbs in the 2026 New Year's Eve celebration in Times Square with Rosie Rios, chair of America 250, the organization that helped organize the events. And now we have the former CFTC commissioner retweeting it with rockets right there. We must live in a simulation, absolutely. There is a lot of weird stuff going on, and consciousness is one hell of a thing. Alright, next up, I do want to play this clip really quick, but as far as I can tell, going to ripple.com under company and leadership, we can see Rosie Rios under board of directors right there. So that is very interesting if she is still an active board member for the company Ripple. And Rosie Rios was appointed to the board of directors for the company Ripple back in 2021. So she's a really big name in the space, and hey, nobody knows, but it makes you wonder. So this is shared by @nfa.crypto. Here's a quick clip of Rosie.
So we have this New Year's Eve in 2025. We also have July 3rd. It is the first time ever that Times Square is doing a ball drop outside of New Year's Eve in the over century that they've been doing this. So we're ringing in July 4th here in Times Square again, and then we're closing out 2026 back here again on December 31st of next year. For the ball drop next Wednesday, I think people can expect a second celebration at 12:04, where it's going to be tons of confetti. It's also going to be our custom ball that's going to utilize technology that's never been utilized before.
Alright, next up, before we dive into the 2026 crypto market outlook that was just put out by Coinbase, remember that we have just over 2 days left in the calendar year 2025, so this is incredibly important for anybody holding crypto and you could sell at a loss. So we had iTrustCapital put out this amazing blog breaking everything down, and I tweeted it out right here. So keep in mind that in the United States for 2025, crypto assets are still treated as property, so they're not securities. So the crypto asset class does not have the same wash rules, so that means that investors can sell crypto at a loss, and you can still have the option to buy those assets back immediately and potentially lower your tax liability for future years, and you can use those losses until they're all used up. So like I said in a previous video, whatever it takes to lower your overall tax bill. And this is linked right in the top of the YouTube video description for anybody that wants to get started with iTrust. So I've been with them since January of 2020, and keep in mind for a PCA, the tax loss harvesting applies to them because they're non-IRA accounts. So you can actually fund a premium custody account with Bitcoin, XRP, Solana, Ethereum, XLM, ADA, HBAR, SWI, and Chainlink. Alright, let's dive a bit into this Coinbase report, and then we're going to look at the BearableGuy123 photo that he uploaded on Christmas Eve. And I posted this on X today, just emphasizing the last two alt seasons with Bitcoin dominance above, and then we have XRP down below, both on the 3-week time frame. So I even zoomed in because I couldn't get it in a single screenshot. We can see the dates for Bitcoin or Bitcoin dominance and XRP, both on the 3-week time frame. When Bitcoin dominance crashes, it doesn't just drop, it crashes. March 6, 2017, that's when XRP absolutely took off. We can see, as it bottomed out, that was close to XRP topping in January of 2018. So that was the original true alt season that we saw back in 2017. Then we saw last cycle at the end of 2020 into 2021, something very similar. We can see Monday, the 28th of December 2020, Bitcoin dominance crashed, kicking off alt season. XRP was right around the bottom of that point. Very interesting timing with the lawsuit being announced, by the way. And then we can see getting that big move. So the point of these charts is just showing you that, at least historically, the biggest moves in terms of ROI for the XRP price chart have been during the last two alt seasons when Bitcoin dominance crashes. We had a drop, but we have not crashed. Interestingly enough, we know XRP did very well during last November. So the question we're all asking ourselves is the market structure different? Are the typical cycles broken? Are we still going to see another alt season, or will we not? And same thing looking at Bitcoin across the board. Yes, it went up to an all-time high even before its last Bitcoin halving. Comparing to the S&P 500, S&P has just been in a steady uptrend. It saw a crazy flash crash back on its previous top before doing a strong V-shaped recovery. So what are we going to see for Bitcoin in the crypto asset class in 2026? Let me know your thoughts down below. So I tweeted this out if you guys want to read the full Coinbase report, so let's actually dive into this. I'm not going to go through all of it, but we're going to skim through it and give you the most relevant pieces of info, or at least what I find interesting. So Coinbase is basically saying that the traditional crypto cycle models are becoming less reliable, and I agree, because everything that I've seen has been wrong thus far. with markets being a lot more driven by institutional users and infrastructure growing, and of course regulation. A lot of price discovery that we're seeing for assets is being more and more shaped by liquidity, derivatives, and perp futures, and really regulated access. But what's very interesting to note is that Ripple the company has positioned XRP as infrastructure. It is one of the very few assets that has true regulatory clarity now with the case over. We have Coinbase really discussing stablecoins and how big this market can really get. Stablecoins and payment use cases are a core use case. And we've already seen trillions of dollars, dozens of trillions of dollars in stablecoin volume. And we have a new prediction: stablecoins could reach a market cap range centered around $1.2 trillion by the end of 2028. Now remember, a couple years ago, or maybe even a year ago, Bernstein was predicting for the stablecoin market cap to surpass $2.8 trillion, so that's come down a bit. But point being, and not financial advice, I believe that stablecoins are a multi-trillion-dollar use case that connects to traditional finance and brings trillions of dollars into the crypto asset class. Hence Ripple with the Ripple US dollar getting that conditional approval by the OCC, which is a very big deal. We have a really big talking point on de-dollarization and global settlements. And across the board, we have global settlement systems that are being looked at, even by the BIS with theirs. And we're all well aware of Ripple's 10+ year track record, really focused on being a neutral bridge for finance. And notice in this report they go over Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, stablecoins, but no XRP. And we all know that Coinbase has never been a fan of XRP. And there's a bunch of talks about real-world asset tokenization, even privacy, and institutions needing privacy within their transactions. And I've seen a lot of interesting things about onboarding trillions of dollars into the crypto asset class via stablecoins and essentially getting yield everywhere else. So we talk about global liquidity rising, and it still is. Let me open this. So global liquidity is going up as Bitcoin is going down, so global liquidity isn't going to slow down anytime soon. But besides global liquidity, we can also consider that stablecoin inflows can actually lead to the appreciation of the crypto market cap in the future. And just overall, there is so much going on with AI and automation and a big focus on payments. And to have ETFs are a really big deal. I know it might not be exciting in today's market, but having ETFs really legitimizes this space. We're going to have more institutions actually viewing crypto as portfolio infrastructure instead of just lottery tickets. And speaking of lottery tickets, let's dive into the image that BearableGuy123 posted on X on Christmas Eve at 2:21 a.m. So he says, "Cha-chingle all the way. Merry Christmas and a very happy New Year 2026 to you all. We got this." And sorry if you guys hear a plane in the background. Alright, so let's take a look at this, mainly because a lot of crypto news is slow in between now and New Year's, but let's dive in, because it's been a while since Bearable Guy has posted anything. Before I dive in, guys, this is complete speculation. This isn't financial advice. There have been very interesting things that Bearable Guy has shared over the years. I believe he knows more than he lets on, but you just never know, because there's others that think it's a giant psyop and tricks everybody, and we're wrong about XRP, but there's only one way to find out, and realistically, I hold XRP far beyond anything that a lot of riddlers have shared. So decide for yourselves, but let's look at this. So first up, we have Bearable Guy sitting in what appears to be a spaceship or a control center. He has the Ripple logo on his head, and we have the three typical colors. So we have purple, which typically stands for XRP as the bridge. We have gold, which I believe stands for legacy infrastructure or maybe even fiat currencies. And then we have green. I'm not sure what it stands for. I'm sure a lot of people already know. Maybe it's liquidity, growth, and market makers. But interestingly enough, we have this control panel. So we have this gold or yellow, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we have 8 for purple, which is XRP, the bridge. And then we have 9 down below. So 5, 8, 9, just like it says right there. And then we have the switch, or this lever, ready to be pulled down. On the left-hand side, we have this Christmas tree with the same 3 colors. And then we have for its star appearing to be the North Star, just like his previous riddles. He seems pretty relaxed, and then we have an astronaut. This might be Brad Garlinghouse, I'm not 100% sure, and I don't know what he's holding right there. To me it looks like bagpipes, but it doesn't make sense. We have him planting the XRP flag in the ground of the moon, and what looks to be fiat or dollars on the ground, and then a person on the right, which looks like a glowing sun, based on previous riddles, handing him beer, maybe even celebrating. And we have perseverance. We have Santa Claus up top with 3 reindeer, and I'm not sure who this person is. He might have been in previous pictures before, but he's upside down and he has a hook. And then we can see planet Earth with a satellite, so this appears to be very global. So what on earth does this all mean? We have 2 books right there, we have 3 Christmas gifts or presents in a special type of box with one of them appearing to open. So I don't know if this means there's going to be 3 phases, at least in my experience of holding XRP since 2017. You know, I would love for something to happen overnight, but I usually think it's going to be very dragged out. So what I really hope is he's saying that the waiting phase is over, because so many of us have been here for a really long time. So what I believe, based on what Bearable Guy has said over the years, is that 589 doesn't necessarily have to be a price target. The point being is it has really high price potential if we get that usage, that utility, and a supply shock. So we're going to find out. Let me know down below what you guys see in this or what other people are saying. I'm sure there's like really good analysis out there. I followed along a lot of the riddles, but I've never, zoomed in on every single image and tried decoding it, because from my understanding, Bearable Guy doesn't know exactly, he just has his overall view of what's happening on the macro, but you can't deny he's been very accurate about things over the past 5 to 8 years. So thank you so much for watching, guys. Hit that like button and I will catch you in the next video. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to smash the like button and let me know your thoughts down below. You can find all links to my crypto resources, including tools for charting, trading bots, wallets, portfolio trackers, and exclusive discounts right in my link tree in the video description. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.